The movie opens with Wes, our central character, embarking on a solitary journey following a painful breakup with his girlfriend, Brenda. Overwhelmed by heartache, Wes finds himself driving aimlessly, seeking solitude to process his profound sense of loss and grief. This emotional turmoil leads him to a remote rest stop, a place where he intends to gather his thoughts and perhaps find some temporary respite from his inner turmoil. Upon arriving at the rest stop, Wes is about to exit his car when his attention is unexpectedly drawn to a peculiar and somewhat unsettling sight. Seated at a nearby table, a strange woman fixes her gaze on him. This creepy encounter sends a ripple of discomfort through Wes, but striving to maintain an air of normalcy, he steps out of the vehicle, driven by hunger to seek some sustenance. Wes approaches a nearby vending machine, his eyes set on a tempting chocolate treat, the last of its kind in the machine. Anticipation turns to frustration when, after inserting his money, the candy stubbornly refuses to dispense. This minor yet aggravating setback triggers an outburst from Wes, his yells of frustration piercing the quiet of the rest stop. The mysterious woman, having overheard Wes's commotion, approaches him. In a surprising and somewhat unsettling gesture, she offers to help retrieve the elusive chocolate bar, requesting only a penny in exchange. Despite his initial hesitation and the strangeness of the situation, Wes hands over a coin. To his amazement, the woman effortlessly secures the treat from the machine. As the woman prepares to leave, her attention is inexplicably drawn to the contents of Wes's car. She offers him an unsolicited piece of advice, suggesting that he tidy up the back seat if he intends to continue living life on the road. This unexpected and somewhat intrusive comment catches Wes off guard, but he responds with nothing more than a nod, waiting for the woman to depart. Once alone again, Wes returns to his car, his mind inevitably drifting back to Brenda. The pain of their separation consumes him, leading to an intense outburst of emotion. He screams, a raw expression of the distress and heartache he feels over the loss of his relationship, an emotional moment that encapsulates his profound sense of despair and longing. Following his emotional outburst, Wes seeks to regain his composure. Stepping outside for a breath of fresh air, he's suddenly struck by the urge to reconnect with Brenda. This thought propels him to hastily retrieve his phone, a desperate attempt to bridge the gap that now separates them. In the midst of this, tragedy strikes. His phone battery dies. Overcome with frustration, Wes reacts impulsively, hurling his phone to the ground in a fit of rage. Quickly realizing the necessity of his phone, Wes scrambles to pick it up, only to find its screen now cracked. This setback prompts him to desperately seek a distraction from his thoughts of Brenda. It's then that he remembers a bottle of liquor in his car. Grasping at this temporary solace, Wes hastily drinks the liquor and plays some music, trying to lose himself in the moment. As he drinks, Wes's gaze falls upon a nearby fire pit. This sight sparks a sudden idea. He decides to burn all of Brenda's clothes that he's been keeping in his car. Engulfed in this act of symbolic release, Wes spends the night drinking, music accompanying him as he watches the flames consume the remnants of his past relationship. However, his attempt at moving on is interrupted when he notices a red box on the table, filled with pictures of his previous girlfriends. In a continued purge of his past, Wes decides to burn these photos as well, except for Brenda's. The night concludes with Wes, intoxicated, taking a final sip of liquor before succumbing to unconsciousness. The next day, Wes awakens, plagued by a hangover. He stumbles into the empty restroom, a space that offers no comfort as he vomits. Amidst his discomfort, an unexpected voice echoes in the room, inquiring about his well-being. Wes, curious and disoriented, locates the source of the voice to the neighboring stall. The man inside strikes up a conversation, casually asking Wes if he's recovering from the previous night's excesses. Wes confirms, still grappling with the aftermath of his actions. In the midst of their conversation, Wes inadvertently brushes his face with his dirty hands, adding to his growing annoyance. He reaches for tissue, only to discover an empty dispenser. Frustrated, he exits the cubicle to search for tissues near the sink, but is met with the grim reality that the restroom has been neglected for far too long. Determined to cleanse himself, Wes attempts to turn on the tap, relieved to find water trickling out. He washes his face and hastily takes a drink, a small rest in his turbulent journey. In the peculiar setting of the restroom, the conversation between Wes and the unseen man in the adjacent stall continues. While Wes busies himself with cleaning his face, the mysterious man engages him further, inquiring about his name. Curiosity piqued, Wes takes a quick glance over the stall door to introduce himself. This act prompts a request from the unseen man, who insists that Wes return to the stall if he wishes to continue their unusual dialogue. However, Wes politely declines, expressing his discomfort with conversing with a stranger concealed in a bathroom stall. The unseen man then reveals his predicament, explaining that he's confined to the stall due to circumstances beyond his control, suggesting that some elements of life are inescapable. As the conversation veers into unsettling territory, Wes decides to leave the restroom, but he's suddenly gripped by panic, realizing he's forgotten Brenda's picture. Frantically searching for the lost photograph, the unseen man, seizing the opportunity for further interaction, asks Wes if he'd like to know his name. Caught in a mix of curiosity and urgency, Wes agrees, still scouring the area for Brenda's picture. Before revealing his identity, the unseen man presents Wes with two bizarre tasks. First, to stick out his tongue and hold it between his fingers, and second, to repeat a specific phrase while performing this action. Baffling as they are, Wes complies with these strange instructions. Upon completing the tasks, Wes learns the man's name is Got. This revelation brings more confusion than clarity, as Got claims to be a spirit, born from a primordial god responsible for the accidental creation of the universe and humanity. Wes, skeptical of Got's tale, dismisses it as nonsensical, yet he continues to humor the conversation while he searches for Brenda's photo. Finally, Wes locates the cherished photograph at the back of the toilet. In a moment of impulsive curiosity, he attempts to glimpse Gat through the stall's glory hole. Gat reacts with anger, sternly warning Wes that beholding his true form would be catastrophic. Despite the warning, Wes's curiosity overcomes him, and he peeks through the hole. In response, Gat unleashes a form of punishment. He floods Wes's mind with overwhelming visions of Brenda, a stark reminder of the emotions and memories Wes has been trying to escape. Recovering from the overwhelming visions Gat inflicted upon him, Wes regains consciousness in the restroom. Confused and disoriented, he accuses Gat of drugging him. Determined to escape the bizarre situation, Wes tries to leave through the door, only to find it inexplicably sealed shut. Gat then reveals a startling truth. Wes cannot leave the restroom until their conversation is complete. Ignoring this threatening statement, Wes frantically searches for another way out and spots a window. Desperate, he climbs onto the toilet bowl, trying to reach it and yells for help. However, Gat acts swiftly, casting a protective barrier outside the restroom, ensuring that they remain hidden from Gat's father. Gat tries to reason with Wes, suggesting his agitation is a result of the visions of Brenda and advising him to calm down. But Wes, unable to accept the reality of his situation, convinces himself that he's merely trapped in a dream. Gat, growing impatient with Wes's denial, raises its voice to demand his attention, silencing him. As Gat speaks, Wes's eyes fall upon an air vent under the sink. Seizing this new opportunity for escape, he hastily rises to open the vent, allowing Gat to continue speaking unnoticed. Wes crawls through the vent, hoping for freedom, only to find himself back in the restroom, a disheartening loop. Desperate, Wes pleads with Gat for a way out. It's then that Gat reveals a troubling truth. Its power is diminishing, making its location increasingly vulnerable to its father's detection. Gat shares its origins, explaining it was created by its father as a tool for humanity's destruction. This revelation distresses Wes, who realizes he's somehow pivotal in Gat's plan. But he staunchly refuses to assist Gat, instead choosing to retreat into his memories with Brenda as a means of escape. This frustrates Gat as Wes persistently avoids confronting his current predicament. Gat implores Wes to stay present and engaged, but Wes remains defiant, attempting to induce another vision of Brenda. In response to this obstinance, Gat enforces a harsh silence so intense that it causes Wes's ears to bleed, a drastic measure to regain control of the situation. In the aftermath of the intense situation, Gat seizes the opportunity to divulge more about its origins. It explains that its father created it as a weapon to eradicate humanity. Gat could have fulfilled this dark purpose, but its older siblings intervened, imprisoning their father. Now, with their father having escaped and on the loose, Gat, having developed an unexpected fondness for humanity, has chosen to go into hiding to avoid being a tool for universal destruction. Gat reveals to Wes that its ability to remain hidden from its father is diminishing. To continue evading detection and transition into the ethereal realm, Gat needs to satisfy its physical form through a mortal's assistance, and it sees Wes as the key to achieving this. Gat indicates that this can only be done through the glory hole in the restroom stall. Amidst this strange and tense discourse, the rest stop supervisor, Gary, arrives on the scene. He's there to perform routine maintenance and cleaning, but is drawn to the restroom by the sound of Wes's screams. Upon entering, Gary finds the situation in disarray and questions Wes about the bizarre state of the restroom. Wes, sidestepping the question, requests a crowbar to open the locked door. Gary checks the door and confirms it's indeed locked. As Gary inquires about who is responsible for their predicament, Gat speaks up, startling Gary. In a panic, Gary attempts to call the police, but Wes intervenes, trying to convince him that they just need to talk to Gat to secure their release. However, Gat fears that Gary might reveal their location if he leaves, and thus decides he cannot be allowed to escape. With no other options, Wes follows Gat's command and enters the stall. What happens next is horrific. Gat consumes Gary, leaving a gruesome scene in the restroom with blood and body parts strewn everywhere. Distraught by this violent act, Wes finally agrees to Gat's request to satisfy its physical form. He proceeds to insert his thing into the glory hole, believing this to be the required action. However, Gat reacts with shock and repulsion at Wes's misunderstanding. Gat clarifies that by satisfaction, it meant a piece of Wes's liver, not his genitals. This misinterpretation adds a further layer of absurdity to the already surreal and harrowing circumstances Wes finds himself in. Wes is in a state of utter disbelief when Gat presents him with a piece of broken glass, intending for Wes to use it to cut out a portion of his liver. Initially, Wes recoils from this horrifying request, vehemently arguing that such an act would be similar to ending one's life. In response, Gat pleads with him, expressing a deep sympathy for Wes's predicament. Gat reasons that human life is precious and should be preserved at all costs, a sentiment that gradually sways Wes. However, before Wes can bring himself to comply, he feels compelled to share his own story. He recounts his troubled past, detailing his struggles with an abusive father and how, throughout his life, he never felt a deep connection with anyone except Brenda. As Wes delves into his past, the emotional weight of his experiences becomes overwhelming, leading him to a breaking point. In a moment of distress, he screams out, inadvertently alerting Gat's father to their location. The restroom starts to crumble as Gat's father rips through the fabric of reality, drawn by Wes's outburst. Gat, now enraged, confronts Wes, revealing that his actions have led their pursuer right to them. As Gat's father reaches into the restroom to snatch Wes, Wes faces a harrowing dilemma. Should he sacrifice himself to save humanity? Amidst this chaos, Gat, in a desperate move, erases Wes's memories of Brenda. This act is meant to show Wes the grim reality of universal destruction, pushing him to understand the gravity of their situation. This drastic measure compels Wes to plead for the return of his memories in exchange for fulfilling Gat's request. Gat complies, restoring Wes's memories. Resigned to his fate, Wes begins the agonizing process of cutting into his abdomen just as Gat's father is closing in. The pain is unbearable, and amidst this ordeal, Wes's mind flashes back to a chilling revelation. Brenda had discovered a box containing photographs of women Wes had killed, leading him to murder her in a fit of regret and desperation. The plot then reaches its climax with Wes complying with Gat's demand for his liver. His sacrifice enables Gat to escape into the ether and confront its father, thereby saving humanity. As Wes reflects on his actions, he convinces himself that he's a hero for saving the universe. However, Gat refutes this, asserting that they are both agents of destruction, best left forgotten. In the final scenes, Gat departs Earth, and Wes, gravely wounded and in pain, stumbles out of the restroom. His journey concludes tragically as he succumbs to his injuries, passing away just as the movie draws to a close. This somber ending leaves a haunting impression as Wes's sacrifice and the moral complexities of his actions linger in our minds. Did this story spook you out? Let us know in the comments below. For more horror movie recaps, subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next one.